back to the Bitcoin Bunker. I'm your host, Satoshi Down Under. And this episode, I want to talk a little bit about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, around some of the common arguments of why Bitcoin can't succeed, what's wrong with it. And one of the initial ones that I want to discuss that I'm seeing on various comments on Facebook, it's usually the same kind of FUD, but it's important to bring up because I think, as lame as it sounds to us Bitcoiners, it does seem to turn people off for whatever reason. Maybe they've people with 80 IQs or some other derangement, I'm not sure. But let's take a look at the price first. We'll see where we're at with Bitcoin. Still bouncing around this 70k USD range, and looks like we're waiting for something to happen. Like I said the last couple of episodes, now's a great time to start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. We're down 48% from the highs, 44% now, anywhere around that range. So I'm looking at this as good buying range. I said to you guys that 100k Aussie, because I'm here in Australia, was my target. Anything under that I would be buying. We could still go lower, I'm sure. However, everyone seems to, once we have a bit of a drawdown, everyone starts calling lower and lower targets. And on the way up, obviously it's the same. People say, oh, we've hit 125, that means we're going to 150, 250. The crazy predictions come out both sides, which is why it's important to just dollar cost average, meaning buying in every payday, buy a little bit more. But I believe we could go either way at this stage. However, big drawdowns like this usually follow either a sideways crab or a sharp reversal. So if we look here, this was the 21 bear market. We rolled over 75% drawdown. Now, if we're in a bear market now, which I'm not convinced we are, 75% drawdown from the high could take us anywhere down to the 46k level. But just because it's happened before doesn't mean it has to happen this time. And what you'll see, I just want to show you guys this. We know price is the least interesting thing about Bitcoin, but we'll talk about it because people love looking at this shit, looking at the charts. But wherever we have these big drawdowns, we often have these quick recoveries and shoot to new highs. So anyway, bit of BS about the price there. I don't really care. I just keep buying. Once you understand what Bitcoin is, price doesn't really affect you. I mean, all it does is affect how many Satoshis you can purchase on every week or every payday. Sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you get a lot less. But as long as you're in the game and you're starting to stack and you're taking self-custody, meaning that you're taking any significant amounts of Bitcoin off the exchange and you're putting them on a Trezor, a Cold Card, a Blockstream Jade, any of these hardware wallets, then effectively what that does is makes you sovereign, right? It means that you have a portion of your wealth that isn't controlled by the state, can be moved anywhere through time and space to anybody, peer-to-peer, without a bank, a banking institution, a middleman, someone trying to collect their fees, or the government trying to tax you to death, We've just seen now the Netherlands is bringing in tax on unrealised gains, which was a similar thing I think our corrupt Australian government are trying to pass. They began talking about superannuation balances, which is, for you American guys, that's the 401k, your retirement investment basically. They were discussing, let's tax unrealised gains on anything over 3 million. Now, I believe it's not gone through, but I mean, we know what governments are like. As soon as they float an idea, they sort of test the waters, see how people feel about it. If everyone rejects it, all they do is they wait till a public holiday, and the midnight hour they go and pass it without anyone knowing. So I do think it's coming, which is more reason why you need some way other than my gold and silver to protect some of your wealth. And the gold and silver, like I've said before, I think the gold and silver bugs, they're Bitcoiners. They just haven't really done the work to figure out Bitcoin yet. You know, they believe in the same thing, not inflating fiat currency and preserving your wealth with something they can hold. And that leads to this ridiculous comment, which I've just seen on Facebook. Bit of banter with a few of these non-Bitcoiners saying, I can't hold it in my hands. So if you don't know what that FUD is, basically there's this argument, you know, I'd rather have gold because I can't hold Bitcoin in my hands. Bitcoin clearly mustn't be anything if I can't hold it. And I actually don't know if people genuinely believe that, or they're that ignorant, or if it's just like some retarded comment that comes out there. But I do think it affects people. You know, they think, well, I can't hold the Bitcoin, you know, where is it? Oh, it's on this hardware wallet, but it's not really on the hardware wallet. I'm confused, I'm scared, I don't know where my money is. I can't hold it, I need things that are real that I can hold. So let me ask you guys, if there's anyone there that thinks they don't want Bitcoin because they can't hold it, when was the last time you held the internet that you're sitting on right now watching this video? When was the last time you held that? It's like you've never held it, but you find use in it and you use it. When was the last time you held the sound coming out of a radio? You never did, right? When was the last time you held electricity? You've never held electricity. So when you put it that way, I think this argument is literally the definition of retarded. That there's something out there that you can't hold, therefore it must have no value. But I really do think that it is actually throwing people off, which is why I wanted to make this video. So I actually don't think not holding Bitcoin as a physical thing is a weakness. It's actually one of Bitcoin's main strengths, right? Because if we compare it simply to gold or silver as some sort of store of value that you can possess without anyone potentially knowing you possess it, and without anyone else interfering with it, I would rather the Bitcoin every day of the week. Why? Because essentially the Bitcoin is 12 or 24 words, i.e. your seed phrase, your private key, stored in your head, stored somewhere safe, stored on a metal plate or on a metal washer, and you put that wherever you want. If you've got a really good memory, you memorize the words, and that is the key to unlock your wealth, whatever you've allocated to Bitcoin. So let's take that. Let's say we have 500k worth of Bitcoin, right? Maybe we've just sold a property. Maybe we've been stacking a long time. We've got $500,000 worth of Bitcoin, and it's stored on one wallet, maybe multiple wallets. You might have multi-sig wallets. But essentially it's protected by these words that could be hidden in a book, hidden in your head, whatever. You pack up, decide you want to go on a holiday, or you want to leave your country, you go somewhere else, and all you need is those words. You get the other end and you go and unlock your wallet and start transacting with Bitcoin, right? At this stage you'll convert some to fiat currency, fine. That's what you'll do. What are you going to do with $500,000 worth of gold? I mean, gold trading right now at, let's see, 7,000 an ounce. It's like, okay, what's that? 7,000 an ounce. We've got 500k. Okay, 71 ounces. Yeah, all right, you could probably hold that. You're not going to be able to shove it up your butt to get on a plane, go through a metal detector. So how are you practically going to be able to move $500,000 in any sort of precious metals? You're not. You can move it from one neighbourhood to another. You could probably drive across the state, drive interstate with it. But you're not going to be able to transfer large amounts across borders, which is the power of Bitcoin and why institutions are now adopting it. They're trying to get as big a slice of the pie as they can. They know it's inevitable. Why governments are trying to create all of these laws to tax you on unrealised gains on it, to try and confiscate it. They understand what this thing is, and they understand the direct threat it is to the entire fiat currency system. So if you want to be sovereign and have true freedom, it doesn't come from holding gold. It doesn't really come from holding real estate. We've seen over in Melbourne, Victoria, Dan Andrews, current, I think, he might still be the current, I don't follow it, but the Premier of the state, after COVID, bringing in all of these new taxes on landlords and property owners. Why? Because that's where a lot of the wealth is, tied up in real estate. And when you as a government have overspent and you now need to claw back some of that money that you blew, what's the easiest targets? Well, it's small business owners and it's real estate and property investors. Why? Because you can't liquidate that property overnight or in 1 or 2 clicks of a mouse. You're usually tied to that property. And so what happens is you just cop it up the arse, right, from the government. They say, now there's a new tax, there's a new sales tax, there's a new levy, and you guys are just going to pay it. Or you're going to sell the property and you're going to cop the capital gains tax hit, which they've probably increased as well, and you're just going to cop it, right? Because you have no other options. So I don't think real estate investing is a bad idea, don't get me wrong, but it's an asset that can easily be captured, laws can be changed, rules can be written to make you holding that investment less predictable, right? So when these fudsters say, I can't hold it in my hands, that is actually one of its strengths, right? I can't hold it in my hands, you can't hold it in my hands. It's 24 words and you can't see it, right? If you're a government, you can't see my Bitcoin. I could have been stacking for years. I could be mining at home. You can have a guess at the fact that I have Bitcoin, but you can't quantify how much I have and you can't directly tax it, right? Because all I have to do is sit there and hold it, and you can tell me there's some unrealized capital gains tax that has to be paid, but I'll just tell you what Bitcoin, I don't have any. It's very confusing. I lost the 24 words. I wish I could tell you something else, but I just don't hold it anymore, right? Or as the Bitcoiners say, I lost it in a boating accident. So unless they come at you with the threat of violence, or anyone else for that matter, you can basically deny that you have it or tell them to get fucked, right? And then what are they going to do? Well, they'll look at the rest of the assets that you have and then they'll squeeze you that way. So, I'm not saying to do the wrong thing, but I'm just saying this gives you the power, and once you understand it, the not holding it in your hands is actually a benefit. You'll ignore this FUD that you hear out there. I can't hold it in my hands. Like, okay, go and hold the internet, So yeah, it's super powerful. I'm going to dig into these hardware wallets a little bit in the next few episodes. I'm not going to show you everything about setting it up and all the rest of it, because if you really want to know how to do that, just go and check out BTC Sessions, because he's been doing it for years, showing you how to set up all of the different hardware wallets. But, it's super easy to do, and it's definitely the first step. After you've got some money on the exchange, bought a little bit of Bitcoin, it's definitely the next step. Because if you leave it on the exchange, you can have it captured. You can have it captured when an exchange goes down, like FTX did last bull market. You could have it seized by the government, or at least the government can be looking at it, and the ATO, the Australian Taxation Office, can squeeze you a lot easier and say, well, you know, what's that you've got hanging around over there? We need to tax that. So to become self-sovereign, you really need to move to the stage of getting a hardware wallet and moving your Bitcoin to that. But yeah, I'm going to go through some of these FUD things, I think, in the next few videos, in between trying to show you guys the power of Bitcoin. But really it is through going through these FUD statements, like Bitcoin bad for the environment, uses too much energy, boiling the oceans, can't hold it in my hands, Jeffrey Epstein coin, all of these things. If I go through this list every episode, you'll get a better understanding of why they're laughable statements, and maybe you'll also sort of see an angle of how you can understand the premise of Bitcoin and the power of Bitcoin. So stick around, like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one.